Today, I'm going to be going over 3 reasons why I truly believe that Jon Jones is the greatest fighter alive. Reason number 1, Jon's freakish genetics and athleticism. For starters, Jon stands at a staggering 6 foot 4 inches tall with an unbelievably God-given wingspan of 84.5 inches, which is a little over 7 feet. This also being the longest wingspan in UFC history. To put this into perspective, the average person's wingspan, if lucky, would be just a few inches longer than their normal height. Jon utilizes his freakishly long wingspan by becoming a master at keeping distance. And from the same distance average fighters will be throwing their normal jab, Jon can use his freakishly long arms to throw elbows from the same exact distance. Jon's natural athleticism, as shown in the Gustafsson fight, also allows him to not have to work or train as hard as his opponents.
You fought Alexander Gustafsson. Be honest about that. How much did you train for that fight?
I trained for the fight, but I definitely I had this thing where I just felt invincible, and I did a lot of wild stuff leading up to the fight. I definitely didn't give it my all.
He's also admitted to partying 1 week before every fight, getting blacked out wasted. His reasoning behind this was that if he ever lost, he could look himself in the mirror and say the only reason he did lose was because he partied a week before the fight.
Yeah. So I have this, I'm going to share something with, I'm not sure if I've ever shared this with anyone else before, but I had this crazy thing that I would do where I would party 1 week before every fight. And I did it throughout my whole career. And this was stupid, but it was this mental crutch that I had. I literally would, 1 week before every fight, I would go out and I would get blacked out wasted. And my logic was, if this guy were to beat me somehow, I can look myself in the mirror and say that, well, I lost because I got hammered the week before the fight.
Reason number 2, Jon's unbeatable mentality. Jon plays the role as a Christian man who has a very healthy relationship with God. Simultaneously being the greatest fighter alive, it's going to be very hard to get in this guy's way mentally. He's been very open about his thoughts about visualization and spirituality. He understands how powerful the mind could actually be, and if humans use this to their advantage, they could truly become someone great.
Right around 2010, 2011, I went through this huge spiritual thing where I became obsessed with the power of the mind, and I got into it deep, like really deep, just meditation, visualization, and just realizing how powerful our minds actually are, like how we really do paint our world with our thoughts and our level of self-belief. So I took myself from being very average-minded to actually believing that I was the shit, and believing that I could be the shit and that I could be the GOAT and be the greatest and never lose it.
Jon feels invincible going into every fight, and that's what makes him awesome. And when Jon does get nervous, he uses that to his advantage and embraces those feelings and turns it into his own superpower.
A lot of people were surprised when they found out that you've been signing your name as Champ 2011. How did that come about?
I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe that that you can speak things into existence. And I believe that when you know where you're going and you know what you want, the universe has a way of stepping aside for you. And me signing my signature with Champion 2011 on it, it can't hurt me. It can't hurt me. It could only help me to believe it even more. So yeah, I mean, it works for me.
You've been saying something that I find to be very interesting, that the butterflies in your stomach are in formation.
Right.
I've never heard that before. I think it makes a lot of sense. What do you mean by that? Elaborate.
What I mean by it? Okay, so the butterflies in formation, basically it means when you have butterflies and you're feeling anxious and you have anxiety or nervous, that's when you're most powerful, I believe. And either you can... you're most powerful. So a lot of people, instead of homing this power and using it, they allow it to just consume them. There's another quote that says, a big challenge or big pressure is like a fire. It's like a raging fire. Either you can allow this fire to consume you and just take you over completely, or you can gain control of this fire and harness it, and you blow it right at your opponent like Dragon Ball Z style. All right, so that's what I'm trying to do. I try to get my emotions under control and use this adrenaline to my advantage.
Reason number 3, Jon's versatility. Unlike most UFC fighters, Jon doesn't have one certain base. In other words, his fighting style couldn't be placed in one specific category.
Now he's going for Kimura. It's all over! Jon Jones,
Jon has a wide arsenal of striking techniques that he uses. He is the only fighter that could be put up there as one of the best strikers of all time while simultaneously being one of the best wrestlers. Jon was a state champ for his high school wrestling team, then later on wrestled in college, becoming a two-time NCAA champion. Jon is a natural. His on-the-feet defense is impeccable and his ground game is even better, being taken down only a handful of times.
Young suplex, dynamic, a great round for Jon Jones, and even greater.
In layman's terms, Jon could do everything. He could take you down, he could elbow, he could knee, he could spin, he could kick. There's nothing he can't do. But that's not the most impressive part. The most impressive thing is his style and the way he executes these strikes. He executes them in such a way even his opponents on their best day would still find it extremely troubling seeing these moves coming. So yeah, that's it. Fuck, that video took forever to make. That's why I think that Jon Jones is the greatest fighter alive. I'm going to leave all the videos and clips and shit that I used in the description. And if you enjoyed it, have a good night. I'll be posting more Jon Jones shit.